I feel like I look like a bug.
You look cute. But hey, it's Lauren Duletzke,
And I am Jackie G.
and this is the Click Clack Show where we talk about all things women's sports and women's lives. So let's get into it.
And sometimes hella random shit.
And sometimes really random stuff too. But that's just part of our lives, you know?
For sure.
But okay, Jackie, so you sent me something this week that blew my brain. Can't believe my PR girl brain missed this.
Can't
But
either.
it's shocking, truly shocking. But the Sports Business Journal, which is one of the most popular and biggest trade publications for the business of sports, did a roundup of the top women's sports podcasts that exist in the space and really talked about the growth of women's sports podcasting boom. And ya girls were listed in that.
And you missed the list of
I missed the
us on
list.
it, which is crazy because I sent it for that reason, not necessarily because of the article. Yes, because of the article, of course. It was amazing. They pulled some great stats. It was super informative. But as I kept scrolling and I looked at this list of 80 women's sports podcasts, I was like, oh my gosh, Click Clack, it is us. We have literally officially made it.
Well, it's just really exciting to be part of the early days.
Yeah.
And so for context, everybody, there's about 80 women's sports shows that show up in the world. If you think about that, that's actually not that many.
No, not at
Like,
all.
think about the millions and millions of people that watch women's sports, commentate on women's sports. Podcasting is hard. We know that. Doing long form media is hard. So major kudos to every single one of those shows on the list. Some of them huge, like A Touch More, with Megan and Sue, all the way to us, where we're independently created and recorded. We're really proud of every level of this list. To contextualize it, Jack, I pulled this stat I thought you would appreciate. So one of the number one genres in podcasting for women is murder, mystery, and true crime.
Hmm.
So there's
I love Crime Junkies. I
yeah,
used to religiously watch Crime Junkies.
yeah, Crime Junkies is it. I mean, I got in my first podcast I ever listened to was Serial. Do you remember
Yeah.
Serial?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay, we'll talk about that another time. But
Okay.
Serial is insane. It was the best podcast ever. But there's over 23,000 podcasts in that space.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So if you just think about
That's
like
a really good stat. Leave it to you to pull up the really good
always.
stats.
Well, because I'm like, when they're like 80 shows, I'm
Yeah.
like, cool. My first reaction to that was that isn't very many.
No.
If you think about like the millions of creators and accounts that are out there.
I
And
have a stat for you.
what's your stat? Drop it on me.
So of the 80 women's sports podcasts, there's only 12 that are self-produced.
Okay. Did you count in the list?
Well, yeah, I counted in the list, and there's only 12 that are self-produced versus the other 68 that are, under a bigger production umbrella.
That's amazing. You guys, self-producing a podcast like we do is no small feat. We have learned so much. And I think, we love having tons of creative control. That's super dope. We love having flexibility, but, it's hard. And we pull our topics. We talk about these topics every week before we record. And, we're just learning as we go. But I love that stat, Jack, because it just shows that there really aren't that many that are doing it alone.
Well, it also, there's something to say about that too. Like, I think that the intentionality, right? And you have these like big production media companies that for me, because women's sports has just become so popular in the like last couple of years, let's say, where it's really like boomed,
Mhm.
you have these media companies that are, bringing on these women's sports podcasts. But I feel like it's more of like a transaction, like, let me just check off a box kind of thing.
For sure.
And for me, I think it's so important that we have self-sustained this on our own. Like, I got to give you your credit. Like, a lot of this is driven because of you and by you and all the work that you've put in on the media side. There's so much to say for that. But, like, yes, is the goal to be under like a bigger media house? Like, yeah, that's probably the end game and the end goal at some point when we're ready. But I feel like when you're starting something, it's so important to build that foundation and really have the freedom and the flexibility and the decision making that goes into like what you want to talk about, how you want to produce it, what you want to clip, what you want to do. Like we've been able to really establish ourselves in this space in such an authentic way. And I'm so proud of us for that.
I'm proud of us too. There's also something to be said for what makes people want to come here? Like, what makes this a growing and popular space? And I think Jack and I would love to kind of set the record on what makes Click Clack different, because there's all kinds of incredible women's sports shows from very specific sports all the way to just bigger, more macro topics, right? We like to talk about our insight of why we started this in the first place is we felt like we have the opportunity to really engage the next generation fan, the
Hmm.
woman who never saw herself in professional sports, the woman who didn't wake up in the morning and think about the stats, but rather was more intrigued by how does sport come into the cultural conversation and where does it make sense in the journey of her life and what she cares about, from motherhood to performance to fashion to beauty, all the things that as women that we care about. So how do two very different women like Jackie and me, I mean, you guys can see it, we're incredibly different, but we also have so much in common. And I think that's also a bigger theme for us is how do you find commonalities and friendship in places that you would never expect? And sports can be such an incredible place for that.
It truly is. And I think there's just so many different walks of life that are in sports. And I think people really listen to podcasts and particularly like women's podcasts in the um like women's sports space because it is such an authentic community and such a diverse background of people. I feel like everyone can find someone or something that they can relate to by listening to different podcasts. I mean, I think through all the different podcasts in my head right now that are women's sports podcasts, and everyone has their own niche and everyone kind of has their own lane, but at the same time, like obviously we're talking about one thing and that is women's sports because we're trying to uplift it in such a way. What I love about the women's sports podcasts group is that people are leveraging each other and uplifting each other and like people aren't afraid to collaborate on a post or shout out someone else's podcast or like it's such a community that is trying to uplift everything as a whole. So there's not like gatekeeping in this, right? Because we all have a mission. We all want to shed light on what's so important around, these incredible women that we're covering. So it's like you see a ton of collaboration and positivity. And that's what is so like inviting and intriguing for me personally.
I totally agree. I mean, it's why I wake up in the morning and I look at women's sports news headlines and I text you about it and then I text other friends about it and then I post about it because it's a space where you can find culture, you can find performance and greatness, you can find untold stories, and you can find connection. And
For
we
sure.
as a society right now more than ever need real, authentic connection. It is the only way forward. This is the way. In the words of the Mandalorian, this is the way.
So
But
good.
seriously, it's not to make light of it, but it is a real issue. I mean, the thought of people building AI relationships and that taking over human relationships, I mean, that's why I think podcasting is just so important because you can almost feel like you nailed it. You're in a relationship that feels more personal because it's long form. It's a chance to feel part of something bigger than a 3-second social media post.
This is like real life shit. And like you're really like in it with these people that you're listening to.
Big thanks to SBJ for covering this space, for creating space for women's podcasts. And what we would encourage anybody that listens to our show, we'll drop that list in our stories and just go and follow some of the other self-produced podcasts, especially because we don't got big budgets. We don't have huge media networks behind us amplifying and helping us clip. Like we're doing all of this on our own right now. And we just really appreciate the support. So big
The
thanks to
support
SBJ.
is literally everything.
It's everything. But I think that we're really on to something and we just have to keep going.
Me too.
Let's go. Okay, before we talk about our next topic, can we just talk about our fits really quick? Because I talked about this on our episode last week, but I'm wearing the Dead Dirt jersey. That's the thorns. We got our
Yes.
thorns right here. I
It
am
looks so
obsessed.
warm.
It is warm. I just said this to you before we got on the pod, but I'm not feeling very femme in this, and I'm a very femme woman, so it feels a little uncomfortable for me, but I also really like I like it. I like pushing myself a little bit, but I think the jersey design is dope.
Dead Dirt, please restock your Bay FC. Also, you could never look not feminine, and like you look really, really great in it. I love like the collar with the hoop earrings. I don't know, do you have a little braid action back there?
I've got a Tomb Raider braid.
You have a Tomb Raider braid. There is nothing like not feminine about your look right now.
Well,
So,
thanks for saying
yeah,
that. I
you look
really
great
appreciate
as
that.
always.
Thanks, Boo. And you're wearing something new.
I am wearing something new, and my wife was really against me getting these because she thinks they make me look like a bug and my face is too small for them. But I did just cop the Meta glasses, so maybe I'm recording you right now. You never know.
You never know. Don't say anything you don't want in a deposition around Jacki.
Exactly. So I'm gonna try these out for a little bit. I feel like I look hella weird and just like a little awkward. I'm probably gonna look back on this episode and be like, gross, but hey, we're here. We're giving it a try.
You athletes are so critical about yourselves.
Yeah. Shout out to Meta Glasses. I want to talk about something that recently came out because I think it's so important and it is so freaking cool. Recently, a billionaire named Ross Stevens, he is going to be giving all US Olympic athletes $200,000 courtesy checks. So it's not like performative. It's not how you perform or what medal that you get at the Olympics. It's literally if you are a US Olympic athlete, you are going to receive down the line a $200,000 check. And I think that is absolutely awesome. I want to hear your take on it.
It's amazing. I mean, we talked about this on the last episode too, that so many Olympic athletes get the massive spotlight during this moment, but they do not make money at all, really, in their sports. Obviously, brand deals, partnerships around the Olympics. Maybe they have something beyond that, but most of them don't have to have other jobs. It's a real issue because of what it takes to compete at the Olympic level. So major shout out to Ross Stevens. I mean, look, I don't believe it. Personally, we should have billionaires in the world. If you are rich enough to give $200,000 to a lot of people through a $100 million donation,
Mhm.
I mean, good on you. Glad you're spending that money on people that need it. But also, like, there just shouldn't be billionaires. So, like, to me, that's like a bigger issue. But I am glad to see this billionaire doing the right thing, supporting athletes, especially female athletes who really need this capital to be able to have economic impact beyond their sports, to be able to still play in their sports.
Totally with you on that. I think it also raises another question like, why does this man have to do that? My bigger question is, why does a billionaire have to step up and like take the reins on for this? Does not, take away the fact that like I think it's amazing and he's awesome for doing what he did. But it's like the United States celebrates these athletes in such a way, and it is such a moment for the US. And these athletes work their whole lives every 4 years to be on this stage and to represent our country. They should be supported financially in a way for this, right? And I just think that yes, this is great, but it also raises a point like, why does he have to be the one? There should be some other sort of income that is like celebrating these athletes for being there.
We talk about this a lot, but athletes are commodities. They are. And you know this. You are an athlete. And I just think it's insane that we would ask people to put their bodies and their lives through what they do to get a piece of gold, which is awesome. Like it means something it's more than the medal for a lot of people, right? Or it's more than the championship. But in the same vein, like once that moment, I don't want to say wears off, but we move on, what are we doing as a society to better support these people? Like that's, it's something we feel super passionate about because it's like they're giving their all, right? And if they change course or they decide next year they don't, or the next Olympics, they don't want to compete in the Olympics, like how are we still supporting them as a society? And that's just where we are fundamentally screwed up.
Yeah, and like for sure. And like other countries, they have like pensions, stipends, like stuff that supports, their athletes. US pretty much relies on sponsorships, media rights deals, stuff like that, you know? And I just think that this raises awareness to this question. Like, this is all great and it's intended to be very positive, and I'm happy for these athletes, but it's also like, can we reflect on this a little bit and how can we change this?
Canada too does a lot with subsidies for athletes, but this is also an area I think you and I should research a little bit more, is just what are some other countries that have kind of in our view like a gold star or gold medal version of supporting athletes during the Olympic Games. I mean, also with the Olympics coming to LA in 2028, and we know Summer Olympics, I mean, Winter Olympics is huge, don't get me wrong, but Summer Olympics is massive. And especially with everything going on geopolitically right now, coming back to the US, it just, I think, even puts more pressure on this question that you're bringing up. We want the best of the best in the world competing on behalf of our country, our brand. If they don't feel supported out of their sports, are they gonna keep competing? Right?
Right.
And it is a real yes, this is a very, double-edged sword.
So, speaking about another really big moment, let's talk a little bit about Alex Ela. She opens the first ever Philippine Women's Open, and she talked a lot about the pressure, not just in her sport, but the pressure having to provide for her family. And this topic really hit me because I feel like I've been around it so much in sports, and pressure is such a relevant thing to talk about in sports, especially being, a former professional athlete. Obviously, you feel so much pressure in your sport day in and day out. The pressure to look the part, to act the part, to be the part, right? There's so many things. And then the pressure to perform at the highest level. And that pressure obviously takes up a lot of your like mental and emotional well-being. But a lot of times athletes aren't talking about the pressures that they face off the pitch, off the court, off the field. And I think that she was super vulnerable when she spoke on this because as a Filipino woman, she feels a lot of pressure to be the greatest for her country, to be the greatest for her family, to be the greatest for her community, all of these things. It directly brings me back to a moment that in the 2020 WNBA bubble, this was when we were playing basketball in a really hard time in the world, in society. And a lot of leagues were talking about not playing and taking an off season. And this was something that was like a really big decision. The stakes were super high. If we decided not to play that year, could our league suffer? Could the league fold because of like the financial state that it was in? So, or it was like, do we take this risk and play in the bubble because that's what we need to do? We were all in like a cafeteria type of room, in this room where like everyone would eat, get their food, eat and sit. So it was like this huge room and all the players were in there and 44 players were in this room. And Courtney Williams spoke out about the pressure that she has to feed her family. Like she has to put food on the table for her family. She has to provide for her family. And taking the season off was not an option for her because she needed that income to be able to do so. And that to me was just so real and it was so powerful in that moment because all of us have different situations. That's why I resonated so much with this woman and just like her speaking out about that because it's not really talked about that much, just like the pressures outside of your sport. So I thought it was really interesting.
She's an incredible athlete. Major shout out to the Philippines. Like there has been some incredible breakthrough Filipino athletes that have been coming onto the world stage, and it's also helping us understand more about what sport looks like in their culture. I felt her openness and her transparency, her vulnerability was extremely powerful. And I think it also brings up a bigger theme of, when you think about young athletes that where there's a lot of pressure, even before they get to college, right? For some kids, sport is the only way to get to college from a
Mhm.
financial perspective. That's a big issue in itself. That stays with you forever. I never experienced that. Came from a really privileged household where I was able to go to college. Yes, I have some loans, but for some kids, like that's not the option. And so it just makes sport so much, again, we keep going back to this idea of like sport is so much bigger than sport. It is an economic pathway. It builds these skills that help you succeed, but you also need the infrastructure, the family support. You need more than just it feeling like it's all on your back, you know? And so like those moments of vulnerability, I think shed an important light on the fact that once again, as a society, we need to think about how are we best setting these athletes up for success.
I mean, perfect. I think that was spot on. I totally agree with everything you're saying. Now, I do want to run something back that I had mentioned in our last episode. A stat recently came out about the SEC conference having the most ranked top 25 women's college basketball teams. There was literally 10 SEC teams that are in the top 25. That number is astronomical. The SEC is so freaking good on the women's basketball side. I don't know how many teams are in the SEC conference. Let's say 12. The competition is so good, you could literally lose on any given night. And that just says a lot about that conference and like how competitive it is. And the types of players that come out of that conference are really setting themselves up for what's next, and that's the WNBA.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you predicted this, Jack, but you said it before they even came out with it.
I mean, it's just crazy because, like, when that actually came out, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, we just talked about this. Like, the SEC conference is fucking fire.
Yeah, they're killing it this year. I mean, I think you, from your prediction, most of them will make it into the top spots within March Madness.
And the Big Ten has 7 teams in the top 25, so they're not super far behind. And then the Big 12 is good. There's a drop off from the Big 10 to the Big 12, but SEC definitely holds that spot. I did want to ask you, did you see Dominique Malunga's dunk?
I did. It was absolutely incredible. Did you also see Cam Brink's dunk?
I did. I did see that. What did you think when you saw Malunga's dunk?
I did a story on Malunga for our social, probably like 6 months ago, and
I
really
remember.
learned yeah, I really learned a lot about her both on and off the court and what makes her really special as a player. She's also incredibly young. I think she's one of the youngest players in the league right now, other than, draft picks coming out of college, because she came over from France. And I genuinely think that Malunga is an incredible leader to watch on the court. You can see that. I mean, even just since I've started watching her, over the last 6 months, I've seen her get even better, get more confident, all the things that you would see from a young player starting to really like get out there in the league, especially because she's also playing an unrivaled. So you get to kind of see her in 2 different formats of basketball. But I mean, watching her dunk is amazing. I mean, a dunk is amazing, right? And I love seeing women dunk because I cannot handle the narrative of just lower the rims. I know we've talked about lower the rims or keep the rims where they're at. And I think you always bring up a really amazing point that's like women's basketball is different than men's basketball. There's different styles of play. We do not have to assimilate women's sports to be exactly like men's sports. Women play different. We're built different biomechanically, physiologically. So this whole argument of like, well, if dunks are cool, so let's just lower the rim so more women can dunk. It's like, no, I actually think it's cooler when a woman does dunk because you're like, that's novel. So many men in the NBA can dunk, and it's like, cool, a dunk, great, yeah, they do all these tricks, cool. But like when a woman does it, it just takes it for me like that much higher.
So I have a different perspective. I I love that she dunked, but I cannot wait until the hype when a woman dunks like is not like a crazy thing that happened. It's like women can dunk, like they're not necessarily dunking on other women in games. Like that's not the style of play that women's basketball is, but women can dunk. I would love for us to get to a point as a society that when a woman dunks, that's just another dunk that we've seen. We've seen a lot. We know a lot of women can do it. Like, good for them. Not every woman could do it. It's going to get to a point, I think, where like that hype is going to fizzle out. And I think I'm ready for it to fizzle out by now because it's like we've seen it enough. We know these women can do it. It's just really not our style of play. But when it happens, cool.
I love that. I think that's such a great perspective. I think the dunk has just been so hyped up in men's sports for
For
so
sure.
freaking long. The little book that I read to Nolan that is all about NBA hoopers and kind of it's like illustrated, it's really cool. The dunk comes up no less than like 20 times in the
For
book,
sure.
right? And so I think it's just been such a historically cool move. I would actually love to see the women's game invent, maybe they have, maybe you tell me this now. I would love to see the women's game invent something that the men's game doesn't have, you know? And that could happen. It absolutely could happen. I'd love to start seeing moves being named by women. You know, like Coop had the Koopa Loop, right? Like
Mhm.
how do we get, and maybe there, again, I'm a noob, so there might be naming conventions of performance after women, but I think that's a really good perspective because you've also been around this for so long. You've always had to be compared to the men. You're probably just like, I'm fucking over it.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like it's time for a change now because like, we've seen it. We know a lot of these women can do it.
the last thing I'll say on the dunk is a video surfaced from the Breeze team on Unrivaled where Lisa Leslie was basically coaching Malunga and Cam around the dunk. And I want to give a shout to Cam because last year she tore her ACL. This year she's dunking. And you talk about this a lot, Jack, that part of even just getting back on the court, the mental piece of it is so big. And Malunga and Lisa Leslie, they were both just like hugging Cam and giving her all the support. And it just felt like I felt like I was there with them, you know? And I think, again, that's the power of women's sports storytelling and like women supporting women. Because, yes, Cam did a really cool move. She felt really confident, but the response from the women that were cheering her on, and it felt so real and so raw. And so I just had to call that out because I thought it
No,
was
I love that. That's a really good call out, and it's a really big accomplishment for someone that is coming back from an ACL injury and just, like, getting back to that moment.
I looked at Bleacher Report's consumers and comments versus Unrivaled's consumers and comments. Literally half the comments or more on Bleacher Report were lower the rims.
Yeah, standard standard response.
It's just so fascinating to see like when traditionally more male sports orgs report on women's sports and like just the comments versus the women's spaces. It's very different.
Yeah, good thing I don't read the comments because I would be in there replying, and I don't need to be doing that.
Jackie would be sending the clown emoji to everybody.
Yeah, no, I can't. Okay, so let's talk about Coco Gauff.
Yes. Oh my God. I've been talking about this all week.
Yeah, like, we need to unpack this. I think that the lack of
Oh.
privacy from the Australian Open is a big problem, it's a big issue. I can't tell you how many times I've been in locker rooms where players and coaches are going fucking nuts and crying, yelling, screaming, throwing shit. That is private. That is not to be exposed. Those are moments that you have for yourself, for your team. And she was having a moment for herself. And you can scrutinize it. You could say, what the fuck is she doing? She was going crazy, like yada yada. But no, she felt in a safe space to be able to react like that. And media exposed her. And I think that's so fucked up.
It's so disappointing and not surprising at this point. And I think for me, we all know that men's emotions in sports are treated very differently than women's emotions in sports. That also translates out of sports, right? You show up to a boardroom as a woman, it is just different showing up as a man. And women have to work that much harder to be taken seriously in everything. It just still is the truth. We're making progress. It's great, but we still have a long way to go. And I remember this story, and I'll bring it back to Coco. Somebody I care about a lot told me she went into a room with her boss in a very charged moment. She said something passionately, and her boss immediately pulled her aside and told her she was too emotional. And she was like, at that moment, I wanted to quit because every other man in the room was saying, fuck this, no to that, calling each other out. But the second I stood up and said anything, it became emotional.
Mhm.
And I think, again, I dislike so much that emotion is seen as a weakness. I think emotion is a strength. Yes, there is a way to show up and be, have like sportsmanlike behavior. Coco has always been that way. She has always showed up as an incredible leader on the court to her teammates, to her competitors, but also it's sports. Emotion is high. Like go look at our Instagram. We just featured 8 different men who broke rackets or broke, iPads during an NFL game when they were mad. And
Mhm.
it's like, you're right. Like, those moments are private. They also happen publicly. We need to give these athletes more grace. Because
Yeah.
what if it was us?
No, for
Do we
sure.
really think we wouldn't act the same way?
For sure. I mean, this is sports, you know? Everyone in sports, man or woman, is emotional and reacts and gets upset and throws shit and does shit. Like, it happens. To me, the fucked up part is that it was exposed when it wasn't supposed to be and it was intended to be a private matter. I don't like that. I thought that was crazy. I don't see anything wrong with what she did. Like, she was pissed off. Do you, girl. Do you.
Even have more respect for her that she tried to go find a private place to have a feeling. You
Exactly.
know, like that to me shows tremendous restraint, tremendous leadership. That's what we
Exactly.
should all be acknowledging. But it's just, yeah, it's such an issue. And I'm sure as a former athlete, it just really hits because you're like, I remember those feelings of being so
Yeah.
pissed off when I lost or when something didn't go my way. And then, just generally, right? Like when we're sitting in a meeting in corporate America and we're like so upset about something, and then we feel so concerned about saying anything because how we're going to be perceived. Like it's just, people need to be more, give more grace. Give more grace.
I'm with you, girl. I'm with you.
But Coco, we're always in your corner here on Click Clack. Such a big fan. We love that you care. We
Yeah,
love that you have feelings.
we do. We love that you have feelings,
we
girl.
feelings are important.
Go run with your feelings, girlfriend.
Go run with your feelings.
Okay, Elle, I got 2 questions for you. What do you think is underrated, and then what do you think is overrated?
Something that is highly underrated that we need to talk about more is making new friends as adults.
Mm,
I have been thinking about this a lot lately. When you're a kid, you're on sports teams, you're in school, you're in college, you're doing your thing. It's so, I don't want to say easy to make friends because it's not, but when you become an adult and you have no time and you have so much pressure and stress, making a new friend is deserves a championship medal, in my
for sure.
opinion. And it can be really scary to put yourself out there as an adult, especially as a parent. Like even when I drop Haley off at school sometimes, I feel this like urge to find a friend, to find somebody I know, a face that's familiar. And everybody's just rushing and busy and it's hard to make those connections. So when you make a adult friendship, just take a step back and give yourself a pat on the back because it is hard. It's hard.
For sure. So well said. I feel like I take that really for granted because I am, like, I'm not young anymore, right? I'm middle-aged, whatever. I don't even know how you wanna
You're not
classify
middle-aged
I
yet.
don't know how you wanna classify 37, but, like, you're not really out here making friends, like, in your late 30s, I feel like, but I have made a lot of really incredible friends since I've moved to Oregon, like, friends that are gonna be with me for my life, and I don't really look at that and be like, "Oh, like, that's so amazing," even though I should, because, like, my wife, for example, she does not put herself out there, and she's not really out here trying to make friends like that. She's like, you know, she has all her friends. She has so many friends back home. She's like, "I don't need any other friends." But I'm like, "No, you need friends out here in Portland," but, like, it's hard, for people that aren't as outgoing. 'Cause, like, for me, I lived in all different parts of the world and, like, had to make friends wherever I went, so I'm just so used to that, and I find my community in the gym, in places like that. So, it is a really big deal, and, like, I do think it is underrated and undervalued when you make friends at this age, and, like, it needs to be celebrated more, so well said, I'm glad you brought that up.
I'll pat myself on the back right now because I asked someone that I met this week at the Portland Fire event
Mhm.
to go have a coffee with me.
As you should.
So, boop,
Good
boop,
job.
pat on the back. Now, something that I think is highly overrated is job titles. I was so stuck on the job title for so long, climbing the ladder, getting to VP, that was the North Star. And you realize as you age and as you take these different roles and as you push yourself that the title does not matter. Your title does not define you as a leader. That is something that took me almost 20 years to realize. I had so many mentors tell me title doesn't matter. At times I felt gaslit because I'm like, but I've put in all this effort. I deserve to be here. I deserve that seat at the table because title does open doors. It's just the truth. But when you get old enough and you've had enough experience and road under your belt, you realize titles don't mean a damn thing. It is a human construct. What means more is how you show up every day, how you lead in your family, in your friendships, in your community, in your job. That is what defines leadership. That is the title.
For
So
sure.
I would just encourage anybody who's, in middle management especially, to just take a step back and look at other things that make you really strong at what you do beyond your title. Because at the end of the day, the title is just a fraction of the full picture.
You're right, girl, and I feel like so many people are tied up on their titles, and, like, I get it because your title is associated with, like, your band level and, like, how much money that you make, so when you really think of it from that lens, you're like, "A title does matter." When it actually comes down to it, and when you're working cross-functionally and collaborating with other people and talking to people above you, talking to people down, below you, you're all working toward the same thing anyways, and your own unique voice is special and it matters, and, like, it's just unfortunate that, like, ego is so tied to everything, you know?
I mean, it is. It's, and I let me reframe and say title matters to a degree, but I think we just put way too much weight there. And I
And
did
pressure.
and pressure. And I did
Yeah.
for so many years because I'm so driven. And then when I just wasn't seeing what I needed to see, it was really hard. It's a hard realization, but also those realizations are what lead you to new paths and greatness and really figuring out what is your purpose. Like I would just encourage people to think about purpose over title because ultimately that's what's going to keep you happy. Your title's not going to keep you happy in your job. It might be that little moment of spark and excitement. You get that raise, you get that title, but things can change in the drop of a hat, especially in corporate America. And you have to make sure that wherever you are, you feel a sense of purpose. That is truly to me more important.
Okay, Elle's coaching corner, I see you.
Well, that's a good
Are you
segue.
are you stealing my coach's corner?
I might be. Well,
I'm just kidding.
I could never steal your thunder, not when it
Oh,
comes to
no.
the
Hey,
corner.
your coach's corner is freaking good too, girl.
Okay, well, that's a good segue. What is your coach's corner for the week, Jack?
I'm gonna keep this short and crisp. But I think controlling what you can when the world feels out of control is something that I have really been thinking about and something that has stuck with me because of everything that's been happening in this world. And all of these things are out of our control. And what I think that Click Clack does such a great job at is when things happen and when issues happen, using our platform and using our voice to speak out on the things that matter to us and the things that we're in alignment with, like, is really a powerful thing. And when we can't physically do something, it is really important to have a voice behind it. And I think I've really realized this throughout the years and how important that is, um, using our platforms and using our voice because it matters. And even though it might not feel like it matters, it really does matter and it could hit people in a way that we don't even know.
I love that feedback, and I think too when we say the word platform, I think we need platform at every level. You can have influence in so many places. Now is the time more than ever to stand up for what you believe in. And I think your coach's corner is very poignant given everything that's going on right now. What a tough while we've had. I'm not even going to time bound it.
Right.
Tough while we've had. So I love that, Jack. I think it's beautiful. And I think we need to all embody that and use your platform for good. That's all we can do as a society, as people, is use your platform to make someone else's life just a little bit better.
Well said, girl. And lastly, I want to encourage everyone who wants to come and listen to two women that are diving into sports, that are speaking from their hearts, who are keeping it real, who are keeping it authentic. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on all of our channels, which include TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, because we need the support. We want your support, and you won't regret it.
You won't regret it. We show up every day and we just keep talking. So we're going to be here for you. We can't wait to meet
Never
you.
ending conversation.
Never ending conversations. But Jack, you take those meta glasses and go find us some tea to talk about on
I'm just gonna be recording everyone. I'm gonna get my ass into some trouble with these glasses 'cause I'm gonna be out here recording, taking photos.
You're gonna be on someone's list.
I am.
Someone's list. But, I love you so much,
I love you
and we love
too.
you all. We'll see you next week, Clack Pack.
Appreciate wait, hang on. Appreciate you wait, fuck, I fucked it up. It's fine.